said the Ministry of Interior had assured the NEC and the country at large that all areas affected by insecurity will be properly secured to ensure that all candidates do the exams without interference.
The Kenya National Examinations Council was warned in good time about areas that are likely to experience enhanced rains and floods, and we are ready with all sorts of arrangements to make sure we counter that. We have helicopters which will reach places that are flooded. We have arrangements to move children if schools get flooded in various areas, and this is already being done in some areas like Mandera and Baringo and Samburu, and so all is in place. On behalf of the Kenya National Examinations Council, representing them in this region, I want to assure all the people of Malindi, all the people of the coast region, that the Kenya National Examinations Council has made all the arrangements through the multi-sector, the multi-agency arrangement, the government working as a team to ensure that all our children will do their exams as expected.
Malindi Deputy County Commissioner David Lusava said there were enough security officers to man all the examination centers within the sub-county.
Enough security officers for all the examination centers within the sub-county. Yeah, we thought that maybe the rain could disrupt the examinations, but now we can see the weather is good. So we believe that the exams will go on uninterrupted. So far we have vehicles, four-wheel vehicles that can go to places that are likely to be muddy. Yeah.
Malindi Sub-County Director of Education Rashid Roba Adan said the sub-county has 2 examination containers, one at the DCC's office serving 42 examination centers and another at the Langombaya Assistant County Commissioner's office to serve 8 centers.
We have 2 containers, one at DCC in Malindi and the other one is at the ACC, a place called Langombaya. At Langombaya we have 8 centers, that's secondary school KCSE, and here in Malindi at the DCC office we have around 42 centers, KCSE centers for secondary schools, both private and public schools. The total candidates we have is around 3,200 candidates so far for both KCSE, public and private.
Consolata Chibalonza reporting for EBN TV.
Now, still on matters examinations, the government has assured Kenyans that adequate measures have been put in place to ensure all Kenya certificates of secondary education KCSE examinations learners take the test despite the current enhanced rains and insecurity in some parts of the country. Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development Chief Executive Officer Charles Ongondo said adequate transport facilities have been put in place, including helicopters have been put in place to ensure that examination papers and the candidates access various centers. Let's listen in.
Helicopters which will reach places that are flooded. We have arrangements to move children if schools get flooded in various areas, and this is already being done in some areas like Mandera and Baringo and Samburu, and so all is in place. On behalf of the Kenya National Examinations Council, representing them in this region, I want to assure all the people of Malindi, all the people of the coast region, that the Kenya National Examinations Council has made all the arrangements through the multi-sector, the multi-agency arrangement, the government working as a team to ensure that all our children will do their exams as expected. The Ministry of Interior has assured us and the entire country that security has been enhanced in all sorts of areas to make sure that the children are not going to be interfered with.
Enough security officers for all the examination centers within the sub-county. Yeah, we thought that maybe the rain could disrupt the examinations, but now we can see the weather is good. So we believe that the exams will go on uninterrupted.
2 containers, one at DCC in Malindi and the other one is at the ACC, a place called Langombaya. At Langombaya we have 8 centers, that's secondary school KCSE, and here in Malindi at the DCC office we have around 42 centers, KCSE centers for secondary schools, both private and public schools.
Now, 11 people died while 3 others are nursing injuries at the Nakuru Referral Hospital following a grisly road accident at Sobea area along the Nakuru-Eldoret Highway. Police are probing the cause of the accident that involved a 14-seater matatu and a truck. Now, confirming the incident, Nakuru County Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi said the incident, or rather accident, occurred at around 3 a.m. in the morning, and that the matatu, which was headed to Nairobi, had a head-on collision with the trailer.
Impact itself ilituamusha. It was a very serious impact that the truck was on the wrong lane. Considering the impact, the way the accident has taken place, and also looking at how this is not where the accident took place. The accident actually took place close to almost 50 meters from here.
So far tumeweza kudhibitisha watu 8 wakiwa wameaga dunia na wengine majeruhi karibu 5 kukiwemo watoto.
Sikuelewa fenye ajali ilitokea. Mimi niliona tu watu wanapika nduru, pia na mimi napika nduru. Hasa hata sielewi kulikuaje, ndio tukaumia. Nilikuwa na watoto 2, msichana pia naye aliumia. Mdogo hata sijui ako wapi, sijamuona.
Right now we have 3 patients who are admitted. They are in stable condition. There is a young boy who is 6 years old, a lady who is the mother of that boy, and a middle-aged man. One of the victims was treated and discharged at casualty.
Kuna barabara ambayo inatengenezwa kuexpand barabara hapa Ngata, na ningeomba kwamba isiwe ikawa tu Ngata peke yake ambayo inatengenezwa. Tunaomba kwamba hii njia yote kutoka hapa Ngata mpaka pale ishikane na ile ya pale Sachangwan ili iweze kusaidia, kwa sababu kifo ya leo imekuwa uchungu na watu wengi wameanza kufa.
Now, leaders from Nyanza and Rift Valley regions have expressed their support to President William Ruto's decision in efforts to try and revive the country's economy by enhancing food security. Speaking during a fundraising activity at St. James ACK in Ugenya sub-county, that is Siaya County, Ugenya Member of Parliament David Ochieng and Marakwet West Member of Parliament Timothy Kipchumba encouraged Kenyans to be patient as things will be normal in time. Let's listen in to what Toromo Dennis had to say, or rather to report.
Ugenya Member of Parliament David Ochieng has reiterated his support for the efforts that Kenya Kwanza government has been making in trying to improve the Kenya's economy.
Mimi niko sober 24/7. So when I decided to join Kenya Kwanza, I was awake, sober, and I knew what I was doing.
He says that he is happy with the decision that President William Ruto has been making in effort of trying to revive the country's economy, noting, for example, that the decision to enhance food security is a way to go.
By borrowing. No one grew the economies by borrowing money and the citizens paying back. That's why tunauliza tu kwamba tukuze chakula, tufanye biashara zetu, tuwe tunaweza kujihimidi kama wananchi na kama nchi. That's only way, because as we speak today, the kind of money we are spending in paying debt, we are spending for every 10 shillings we collect, 4 of it is going to pay debt. So we must pay our debt first, because if you're in a hole, you don't keep digging. You try to come out. So we'll have to pay our debt first before the economy picks up and grows.
Mr. Ochieng stated that food security is the most important thing in a country, noting that in Uganda the inflation rate is 2.9% because of the proper food security, lamenting that Kenya's inflation rate still stands at 6.8%, going to 7% because of the country has to import food.
Has at least a 4-course meal. And none of those things are bought. That's the point. That any normal Ugandan will have a 5-course meal without using money, a single cent, because they use their farms well. And you can confirm that, Bishop, that Ugandans hardly buy food. That's why inflation yao leo ni 2.9%. In Kenya, our inflation today is 6.8 going to 7% because we use so much money buying food. We use so much money importing food. That's why the president said, Rais amesema kwamba, first of all, let's grow our own food.
On his part, Marakwet West MP Timothy Kipchumba called on Kenya to have some little perseverance because the current economic challenges are world over assuring however that Kenya's economy shall be improved in the next 3 years.
Tuko na challenges mingi hapa na pale, lakini tuvumilie. Mbele ni kuzuri, mimi ni kwa ushua baada ya mwaka 3. Jinsi nchi inavyoendelea, mimi sina tashwishi kwamba tutaendelea mzuri kama nchi. Changamoto it is a global challenge. Na mimi naamini ya kwamba we will be able to address that issue.
Toromo Dennis, EBN TV, Prime Edition.
Now, ODM party leader Raila Odinga has challenged President William Ruto's administration to address different challenges Kenyans are facing, and that his party has no plans to join the government with the ruling, or rather to agree with the ruling party. Now, Odinga gave conditions on the ongoing bipartisan talks, saying it will abide with it, or rather with it, if the government shows commitment of addressing the high cost of living. Let's listen in to what Odinga said while in Mombasa County.
Hata wale wengine upande ile wengine wa UDA, mimi ningependa kama wao vile vile wangeimarisha hali ya huduma kule ambayo wao wako. Maana wale wote ni wa Kenya, sivyo? Na kama serikali kuu ya juu vile vile inatekeleza wajibu wake, badala ya kusema maneno tupu domo kaya. Gharama maisha bado imepanda sana. Bei ya unga, bei ya mafuta, petroli, sukari, sitima, sivyo? Na wanazidi tu kuongea. Tunasema madomo maneno matamu sio chakula. Wananchi wengine wanalala njaa bila chakula chochote. Ndio sababu mimi nimewaambia wana jukumu ya kutekeleza wajibu yao badala ya kuzuru hapa na pale kutangatanga na maneno ya porojo. Hiyo ni maneno mengine. Sasa vile nyinyi mko hapa Mombasa, sisi kama Azimio tumesimama imara. Na tumesema hatuwezi kwenda kufanya mkataba yoyote ambaye haitaweka mambo ya huduma ya wananchi juu kabisa. Gharama ya maisha mpaka irudi chini, sio? Alafu yale wengine vile vile ifanyike, kukagua mambo kama sava na kadhalika. Si sawa namna hiyo? Si sawa namna hiyo? ODM tutafanya uchaguzi mwezi wa Februari, na mwezi huu tutaanza kusajili watu wapya wanachama wa ODM. Nataka nyinyi nyote muingie ndani ya ODM. Mtafanya namna hiyo? Mtafanya.
Now, popular retail giant Quickmart lost 94 million Kenya shillings in an apparent robbery on Monday morning. Now, 2 employees of security firm Wells Fargo are now missing, and police say they have launched a manhunt for the duo. The 2, identified as Daniel Mungai, the crew commander, and Anthony Ndwiki, the driver, were transporting the money to a local bank in Nairobi city center for deposit after collecting it from the security firm's vault as its routine. Now, police signals indicate that the 2 left the vehicle and Isuzu Canter at the farm in South Sea in Langata, Nairobi. They reportedly collected the money and left without a police escort, which is unusual. Now, that is a very interesting story right there. Remember that in such cases, we expect that such cannot happen. You cannot collect, or rather such a security firm cannot collect money without a police escort. Now, how come they went without police escort and they were given the money? Now we're waiting also to see how that will turn out to be. Remember that Daniel Mungai and Anthony Ndwiki reportedly picked the money without the police escort, which doesn't happen at all. Now, how come that happened? It has been a story that has been making rounds on socials, with many Kenyans advising the 2, but I do understand that currently, with the current technology, the 2 cannot go that far. We're waiting to see if they will be apprehended and when that will happen. Now, Now, residents of Njiru land have called on the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, to look into the documents submitted in court by the Kirima family. Through lawyer Danstan Omari, the residents also want DCI to investigate the documents submitted by the family of the alleged original owner of the land, the late Domenico De Masi, an Italian. Now, they want the Directorate also to ascertain which documents are real, even as they hope that this will be the De Masi's. Let's listen in.
Pretended that land was theirs. The people who sued pretended to be the owners of the land. And that is why the judge left with any document granted Kirima those orders. We have now filed all these documents to the attention of the judge to review that decision. We have equally written a letter to the Director of Criminal Investigation to investigate the documents the Kirima presented before the judge, to investigate the document the Dominican guy has presented with a view of establishing which are the lawful, rightful documents of ownership.
The chairman of the area approached our law firm, representing over 500 residents who have been ordinarily living there and who are likely to be affected by the demolition of the judgment of the court is executed. Not only are there residents who will be affected, but also we have to look at the social and economic effect of the demolition that is to be effected. Within that community, there are more than 10 schools, more than 10 designated areas of worship, including churches and mosques, and very many health facilities that people have been relying on for the longest period of time. And because of the issue of ownership which had not been settled, the residents of that area were not sure how to regularize their stay.
Now, on matters health, First Lady Rachel Ruto has presided over the handover of medical equipment worth 65 million Kenya shillings donated by the German government. The equipment donated, including 3 fully equipped mobile clinics and 4 refrigerators, were handed over to 7 ASAL counties and is aimed at upscaling the delivery of health services in far-flung counties. Now, Health CS Susanna Humicha thanked the German government for the donation, saying it aligns with the government's focus on preventive health.
Is supported by this initiative. This is therefore galvanizing the ongoing efforts by both the levels of government to ensure that all citizens have access to highest quality of health services where they need them, and at a cost they can afford.
As a ministry, we are committed to working together with partners, like-minded partners, to ensure that we improve the health services of Kenyans. And our commitment has gone to the extent that now we have legislation that will force all of us to work together. In the primary health care bill, we have what we call a primary care network. In a primary care network, it does not matter whether you are a private hospital, a faith-based hospital, or a public health hospital. We are putting you in a situation where you must work together in that primary care network to provide services for Kenyans.
Today represents a significant step in bringing healthcare services closer to those in the far-flung areas who normally have to travel long distances to access medical services. Given the arid and semi-arid nature of these regions, the donations will boost healthcare access in these counties by bringing services closer to the people.
Now, away from that, a section of Meru County residents held an interdenominational prayer service to dedicate the county to God, even as political and leadership crises continue. Now, the worshippers prayed for peace and unity, even as the Senate sits this week to decide on the fate of Governor Kawira Mwangaza's impeachment motion by Wednesday. Now, the Senate is expected to hear the Meru Assembly tomorrow, that is today, and on Wednesday, Governor Mwangaza will defend herself before the Senate decides her fate. Now we are also waiting to see how that will turn out to be, but let's listen into what the Meru County residents had to say yesterday.
Hatukuwa hapa sisi kwa ajili ya mambo ya siasa ama milengo ama nini. Vile vile tumeweza kupata nafasi nzuri ya kuweza kuzungumza tukisema kwamba tunapotoka hapa maana it's clear zile shida ambazo tumepitia zimefanya tukawa polarized. We really want to tutoke hapa tuweze kuenda kama wachungaji kuhakikisha kwamba tunaleta watu pamoja na kuhakikisha kwamba hiyo mipaka ambayo ilikuwa imetokea kwa ajili ya jambo hili na lile lingine tumeona ya kwamba uponyaji umeanza kutokea. Na unajua kitu mzuri ni nini? Wakati wa mambo kama hayo ya umoja yanaongozwa na kanisa inaleta uwiano, kwa maana viongozi wanakuja wanaenda, lakini kanisa inadumu.
Now, county governors of Machakos and Bungoma County have pledged to work together for the benefit of the people of the two counties, regardless of the political stance. Now, Governor Wavinya Ndeti has reiterated the need to forge political allies so as to steer development. Governor Kenneth Lusaka of Bungoma County, on his part, assured Kenyans that political preferences is a non-issue with development.
Hatuwezi kukosana. Hata sisi tunatafuta partners. Tunaelewana? Kwa hivyo sisi huku kwetu tuko na mtoto yetu anaitwa Kalonzo Musyoka, yule tuna support, tunasema wiper. Tunaelewana? Tunamsupport ndio akuwe president wa wapi? Wa Kenya. Si ni sawa? Kwa hivyo hii dunia, ninasema hii dunia sio ya mtu. Hii dunia ni ya Mungu. Si ndio? Vile mheshimiwa hapa amesema, Wetangula amesema mbele ni ya Mungu. Mbele ni ya Mungu. Hapo mbele tuachie nani? Tuachie Mungu.
Na hata safari vile mmeambiwa tunapanga, unajua kila sehemu ilipiga kura kulingana na vile mambo ilikuwa kwao. Tunajua mko na kiongozi wenu hapa ambaye ni Kalonzo Musyoka. Kiongozi wetu huko Moses Wetangula. Kila area iko na mtu yao. Ile wanachunga. Lakini tutazungumuza. Nobody chose to be in Machakos. Mimi si kuchagua kuwa Bungoma, pengine kama Mungu angeniuliza ningesema nizaliwe Machakos. Lakini akaniweka Bungoma. Lakini sisi sote tumeumbwa kwa sura ya Mungu. We have all been made in the image of God. Kwa hivyo mambo sasa ikiisha, hata sisi katika kanzo tumeweka mambo ya misingi kando. We serve as governors. Ile mheshimiwa Wavinya anataka maji, mimi pia nataka maji Bungoma. Akitaka pesa iongezwe Machakos, mimi pia nataka pesa iongezwe kule Bungoma. So chama ni chombo cha kupeleka mahali nataka kwenda. Ukifika huko sasa ni kazi. Ndio sababu mimi nimekuja hapa kufanya kazi ya Mungu.
Now, taking a quick look on today's newspapers, Daily Nation and The Standard, together with The Star, starting with The Standard right there. You are on your own. Basically, cabinet secretaries tell dialogue team that things are beyond their control, and instead of putting in place measures to bring down the cost of living, Kenyans should brace for tougher times ahead. Now, it seems it's getting worse. That is right there, as you can see on your screens. We have Treasury CS Njuguna Ndungu saying the Hustler Fund government-to-government deal affordable housing is an intervention. The whole issue is you start it off, and once it is working, you release it to the market. That is what basically he said right there. And also Energy CS Davis Chirchir I read an article that international prices could go to $150 per barrel because of the Israel-Hamas war, which would literally mean our products going to a high of 300 per liter, basically referring to the cost of fuel. Well, it seems it's getting tougher as days go by. Now we're waiting to see how that will turn out to be. Well, will we be there? Now, CS Energy Davis Children says he hopes we won't go to that extent, but still we are waiting to see how that will turn out to be. Now, CS says the cost of fuel could rise to an all-time high if the conflict between Israel and Hamas does not dissipate. Now, but the central bank says the war has not affected prices yet. That is actually according to the Central Bank of Kenya, but Energy CS says the war is affecting us. Now we're also waiting to see how that will turn out to be. Now it is actually an issue that the bipartisan committee, rather the National Dialogue Committee, has been trying to bring to an end, especially the issue to do with the cost of living. Now the two Njuguna CS, that is Njuguna Ndungu, Treasury CS, and also Energy CS, Davis Churchill, seem to be giving signals that the cost of living is not likely to come down anytime soon, as the two sides, the Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio la Umoja team, are proposing, let's reduce the cost of living, but it now seems it might be a nightmare and it won't happen anytime soon. Now, investigations also always ongoing for journalists killed or hurt by police. Basically, that is a special report done by The Standard. You can check it out on page 10 and 11. How Kenya oil deal ruined trade with Uganda, basically highlighting the fallout between Kenya and Uganda in terms of oil deal. Now, suit filed seeking to lock out Ugandan oil company from local export market. Now, the case comes barely a month after Uganda indicated it would change its fuel purchase process. Now, Ugandan market consumes about 20% of the refined petroleum products through Port of Mombasa. Now, the Kenyan government, through the first and third respondents in issuing the licenses, will be conducting unfair business. Now, basically, that means that there is a fallout in terms of oil purchase deals between Kenya and Uganda. Remember, Uganda consumes 20% of refined petroleum products through the Port of Mombasa. Now, basically, that means it will affect the trade between Uganda and Kenya in terms of petrol and rather oil in general. Now, we're also waiting to see the fuel prices affecting our economy, because the central bank says it has not yet, the war between Israel and Hamas has not yet affected our economy or rather prices of basic commodities. But the CS of Energy is indicating that the war might affect. Also an interesting twist of events right there. Now, imports body wounds of dire food shortage. Now, the Kenya National Trading Corporation says the country is short of rice, edible oils, maize and beans, and could be forced to import items. Remember, the Kenya Kwanza government is working towards making sure that come 2025, we don't export, or rather we don't import maize from other nations. We have enough that we produce right here in the country. But then an interesting turn of event, remember also yesterday we had a very interesting conversation right here, and it was said that it is important to put a strategy. Remember, a section of farmers for years in Trans Nzoia County have been complaining that they do have adequate maize that has not been purchased by the government. Rather, the government prefers to import that specific maize right there. And a quick one on today's Daily Nation, 300 a litre for petrol on the cards. Also waiting to see how that will turn out to be, amid the expectations that fuel prices will drop next week when the government releases its monthly review, given the recent deadline in global crude prices. Energy Minister Davis Churchill yesterday warned that the prices could rise to historic high due to the Israel-Hamas war. This would make life even more difficult for many Kenyans struggling under the current high cost of living. And also still dawn crash claims 11, Daily Nation. 11 people died at dawn yesterday, even when a matatu and a lorry collided head-on on the busy Nakuru-Eldoret highway. Now, 8 people succumbed to their injuries as they were being rushed to hospital. Now, witness accounts and a road traffic report indicates the driver of the lorry lost control and veered off his lane before colliding with the matatu. Now, our condolences to the 11 families, or rather the families to the 11 individuals who lost their lives right there. Now, Haste Security Farm staff make away with retailer 94 million. Basically, the Wells Fargo employees, the 2 of them who made away with 94 million in cash belonging to retail giant Quickmart. Now, police search for man over ex-wife murder. Basically, Nairobi police are looking for a man who allegedly stabbed his wife to death before going underground in the Kariadudu area of Babadogo mid last month. Basically, the outline of today's Daily Nation. And the Star, Kenya paying for Uhuru blunders, according to Ruto's men. Now, Treasury CS Njuguna Ndugu warns against tampering with current tax measures. Basically, if the tax measures are tampered with, means that we will have to bear the burden come year, or rather in years to come. So we have to be patient and let the government work its way out and revive the country's economy. Azimio won't sign bipartisan deal if cost of living is not addressed, basically what Raila Odinga noted yesterday while in Mombasa County. State promises to assist flood victims as rain wreak havoc. It is interesting right here, as you can see the pictures of the day on the Star. Kenya Red Cross officials visit Grifutu village, which was marooned by floods following heavy rains in Eldas sub-county, Wajir County. Basically, the northeastern part of the country has been greatly affected, and now a section of leaders from the county have come out to ask the government to come in and help them with solving this specific issue, rather providing assistance to those affected. Now, it is an interesting one now that it is not only northeastern, but also we do have some parts of the coast that have been heavily affected by this specific rains. Well, we shall be right back with our day's discussion in a couple of minutes. Why need DNA with lawyer Oruko Were, who will be helping us understand that now, from his professional point of view, why it is important to conduct a DNA test before investing for your children. Now, it is also a controversial issue, and it has been a controversial issue for quite some time. Well, he will be helping us understand why it's important to do all that before you invest for your children, because times have changed and also things are changing. Now, we are waiting to hear exactly his point of view, the professional advice, and also the truth of the matter as they are. Well, in a couple of minutes, we shall be back with that.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world. Through the morning rush and the buzz, find a voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Sammy Adika. Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
In a fast-paced world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: your relationship with God. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we take you on a transformative journey of building your faith, without which it's impossible to please God. A journey of introspection and discovery of who you are in Christ Jesus.
For you to walk with God, you should not crumble when you come under pressure. Kama umeokoka, sema umeokoka mpaka mbele ya president, mpaka mbele ya chief justice, mpaka mbele ya kila mtu. Hiyo ndio kuokoka ya ukweli. Kuokoka ya ukweli.
Enjoy a faith-filled environment of worship and ministry of the word every Tuesday and Thursdays from 9 a.m. with Reverend Felix Kevoy, exclusively on EBN TV.
The word of the Lord today.
Watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
Now, welcome back to the Morning Live. Today, the 7th day of November, the year 2023. I do hope you are well from wherever you are watching. Now, we are having a very interesting conversation right here. And remember that the DNA conversation has been ongoing for years now, especially recently after it was said that it is now going to be cheap. Now, with DNA readily available to many, are you willing to undergo the process of talking it out openly and agreeing that we shall take this step as a family, or rather as the husband? I will make sure that I do a test before moving forth with my family, or rather before planning for my children. Now, yesterday as I was sharing with a colleague, they said it is a way of splitting families, but then it also helps somehow, and we will get to understand how it gets to help you make sound decisions. Many thanks for joining us this morning, Oruko. And now, the DNA conversation, it has been ongoing. It is now here in the country, and people can easily access these services. Why would someone consider DNA before investing?
First of all, we have very many reasons why most of us need to go for DNA. And one of them usually is, whereas most of us look at DNA in terms of, I need to know, paternity is the common DNA. I need to know my father, I need to know my father. But DNA has been used in very many instances. The first instance we use DNA is when you need to know your siblings, because you know we have children whom for one reason or the other one have lost their siblings, have been displaced from their siblings. A bad example in Kenya is like what happened in 2007, and people were displaced. Some people have not found their siblings to date. Because you will run to where you will run to. Maybe you are young, someone else took care of you, don't even know where you came from. So DNA helps you to trace your roots. So besides tracing your siblings, DNA also helps you to to find your ancestry. Because imagine someone who's maybe you were born and your parents died when you're so young you could not know your parents, and you need to trace your ancestry. So DNA has been used to maybe per se try and help you trace your ancestry. But the most common one that everyone, when you speak about DNA, what comes into everybody's mind is usually the paternity test, where who is my father? Literally, we usually call DNA who is my father. So because you can't test, it's very rare that you get someone testing about who is their mother. Very rare, apart from the cases where we've had in hospital where maybe a kid was stolen, a kid was misplaced from the parents, but majorly we test who is the father. Now, paternity test has been very important because I saw a not commissioned research which was saying that majority of the parents are not sure whether they're taking care of their kids or not.
Especially fathers.
Yeah, especially fathers. But also, I've also seen a bad case where upon test of DNA, they found that the kid was not theirs and the mother could not explain. Only for years later, around 8 or so, to realize that the kid was swapped at the hospital. That is after they had divorced because of these issues, which are very important. So DNA is very good to do. However, if you don't have the heart to take it, then it might be hard for you to take it. But I will like us to divide DNA into while I'm still living, that's number one. When I'm putting in an investment, that's number two. And then after I die. Because these three things are very important. While I'm still living, I might want to be sure that the kids are mine because of one reason or the other one. Maybe being someone who is not very light and the kid comes out very light. Being someone who is very light and the kid comes out dark. Being someone of maybe a certain race and the kid comes out looking like another race. So you as a parent, you might want to know whether this is or is not your kid. For the matter of satisfaction, and also per se for the matter of future issues. So that if I find that this is my kid, then it's okay, I will be satisfied. But living while thinking that this might not be my kid is so dangerous because even decisions are not made. So this is when you're still living. Yes, but now when you're making investment decisions, we have investment decisions which span 20, 30, 40 years. In that, a child is born today, you buy an insurance cover, a child is born today, you start an investment. A child is born today, I start saving. You see, all these factors. So that by the time my kid is maybe, let's say 20, 30 years, they have accumulated enough for me to take them to school or to start a business or to live a better life. So you get that these days, in our generation, when a kid is born, maybe we open an account with the kid's name. And then I want that by the time my kid is reaching 20 years, I have saved at least 10 million for the kid or 20 million for the kid. So that if I put in even an MMF, which is giving me 10%, the kid can be having 2 million every year. So I'm securing the life of my kid. These kind of decisions are properly made when someone is sure that this is their child. So it will be important for someone to know that this is my child to whom I am making this decision to. And now, this brings about the issue of wanting to go for DNA. So there are people who go for DNA, who engage us and go for DNA privately without the other parent knowing, because also if a parent knows that you're doing DNA, it might question the trust. But there are those who come outrightly, explain to their other spouse, to their spouse, and detail to them that I need to know whether this is my kid or not.
Yes. Now, how best would you advise someone to go about it? Because I understand that, doing such a test without involving your spouse, it feels like betrayal. But then a lady, especially ladies, they would want to know why you're doing that. And those who are confident will tell you no problem. But then others, if you do that, then it breaks the trust. So from that professional point of view and also the truth, how best can couples handle this?
The best thing that couples should always do, that is the social, that couples should always do usually is that they should talk about it now and make it known that doing a DNA is not only questioning the trust, but it's also sealing a loophole which might have happened. I've given you a case scenario where a mother was not able to explain how the daughter was not his husband's. She wasn't able to explain. And she was saying, I have only known one man in my life, and that's my husband. But the husband could not believe because the prima facie evidence, the evidence that comes out of the relationship is a daughter which is not his, according to the DNA. And they did DNA in 3 places, Kenyatta Hospital, they went to Lancet, and later they went to Pathcare. And this DNA, after it showed that this was not the kid. So it's very, very hard for you to explain. So if we do DNA earlier enough, then it helps us to seal some of these loopholes. Whereas many people look at DNA in terms of questioning a lady's trust, but DNA helps to seal some of these loopholes. And you'll see how sealing some of these loopholes helps after you've died. They help so much after you've died. So I might fail to do DNA today because I trust my wife, which is very, very okay. But should it come in the future that a certain uncle knew that this is not my kid, and I'm dead, then the kid is, the kid's goose is cooked. Because he or she will suffer out of the same. Something which I could have sealed when I was still alive. So it's usually good that, yes, it is very dicey, but to be approached with a lot of care when you're dealing with the issue of DNA. Yes.
Interesting. Now, it is not just a matter of questioning trust. It is also a matter of helping to solve problems that might arise. And in most cases, these children are always the ones affected. Now, before we even talk about investment, let's bring this point of you've gone, tested for DNA. Let's say you found this is my child or this is not my child. But then how would you advise either a client or someone out there who would want to know exactly now, how do I go about this? Will I give her or him the same share I ought to have given to these other kids of mine?
You see, when it comes to distributing your property, even your kid does not have a right to dictate how you distribute your properties. Even your kid, it is your property. You can even decide to give me all your property and your kid none of it. And nobody will question you because you have a right. In the law, you have it's called testamentary right, a right to give out your properties upon death how you so wish when you're still alive. See, so in this case, then you find that if I do a DNA today and find that they are my kids, I will be happy. Of course.
Definitely.
But if I do and I find that they are not my kids, then we question the fact that how are they not my kids? Now, it brings about the issue of I need to adopt this child who is not mine, to protect the child. Otherwise, if I was to die, then I have to leave a will for me to secure the interests of this child. But if unfortunate event happens and I die without a will, then this child cannot inherit my property.
Even
None
if
of it.
the kid bears your name?
It doesn't. When you die without a will, we call it only people with your bloodline will inherit from you. No bloodline, you can't inherit. The only thing that you will be given is something we usually call a reasonable provision. In that, we will come and say that since Oruko here was taking care of, let's say, kid A, but kid A has since been found through DNA and everything that the kid was not his. And Oruko was not able to adopt this child. Because if you adopt, then formally the child is born that day of you. So they inherit as if they are blood, they are your blood kins.
Yes.
So if Oruko did not maybe adopt this child, then they look at what was I doing before I die, 1 year before I die, what was I doing to the kid? Maybe I was paying school fee. So they say, you are in Form 2. Ruko was paying your school fees. So maybe he intended to pay up to Form 4. How much are you paying? 50,000. So we give you 100. We pay it. We don't even give you. We pay it. We pay the school fees for you. And maybe some little pocket money and that's all. Or maybe if you're in the university and are intended to pay, we only pay for that. So imagine someone who has died, maybe a billionaire. This kid will suffer. You'll only be given something less of $1 million. Because we only take care of those things which this person was. So we usually have something called Section 39A. That is your children, your wife, and anyone else. But we have now B, which is anyone else who is not your dependent. So this child now will inherit, will not inherit, but will get something from your estate, but based on 39B, which is not priority per se. It's like you get remnants.
Yes.
So it's usually good that after you know, you have option number 1. After you know that if the kid is yours, even if the kid is born out of wedlock, the kid is yours. So we don't care where the kid was born, the kid is yours according to the law. All kids are protected. Yes. But now if the kid is not yours, then it will be, do you still need to continue the relationship? Because sometimes maybe the kid is not yours and you can't also give birth. These things happen.
Yes.
So if that happens, then do you want to go out there? Because it's also dicey. Do you want to go out there and say, hey, I did DNA and I found that the kid was not mine. And you don't have another kid. So you see, you don't shout about these things. You want to walk carefully and you go like, yes, I know the kid is not mine, but maybe even the wife adopted the kid without you knowing, not even maybe getting pregnant or what, or maybe even the wife was covering your tracks. Yes. So you sit down and agree and say that legally, for us to protect this kid, let us adopt the kid so that the kid is ours. But if you don't do that, then a lot of things might happen in the future, and anybody might move to the court and say that this was not this person's child.
Yes.
And it starts now the battles in court of I want to inherit but I'm not the child, and with that then the kid will always suffer.
Yes. Now assume this kid is less than 18 years old and you've done the paternity test. You found this kid is not mine. How do you now bring in the idea of we want to adopt you? Now starting talking to that kid. Yes, how do you initiate that? Because I understand that they're below 18. Most of them might not even be able to make sound decisions. But you have now to bring up this conversation. Do you involve a professional? How do you go about it?
Initially, if you want to adopt the kid, then you have to involve the professionals. Because now this will bring about the issue of this brings about the mental health issue.
Yes.
The child will be very, very disturbed. And you see, mental health is very important amongst the teens. So the best thing I would advise anyone who gets himself into that scenario is just draw a will. Just draw a will. Once you draw a will, your right to inherit that which I have willed you is not taken away from you. You don't have to be my relative to inherit my property. So at 17 years, I will not want to introduce such kind of discussions. Yes, we can know, you and the mother can know, but if both of you as adults have sat down and decided that this is how it is, first of all, let this kid mature enough. Later, maybe at 20-something is when you can introduce the topic. But at 17, at 16, it will be a problem. But also remember, if I do DNA and I find that this kid is not mine, then I have to know whose kid this is. Because it might have been a fraud which occurred and the kid ended up at my doorstep fraudulently. And the moment I know about it, I need to raise it out. Because if, let's say, my wife gives birth and then the kid was stolen, and then when they got out of the hospital, they were told the kid died. And then upon doing the DNA, you realize that the kid is not yours. Maybe the kid is mine. It's important that you tell me. Because otherwise, from that moment that you know about the kid not being yours, the problem starts. You might be held liable for continuing a criminal act. So it's usually good also to notify that this kid is not mine.
Yes. Now, once you've notified, or rather given notice, this kid is not mine, how do you now go ahead to find the parent to that kid?
In Kenya, we don't have a database of DNA. So it might be very, very hard. Unless you raise it with maybe the media, it becomes very, very hard. because we don't have a database of DNA. Kenyans frown upon DNA kabisa. They don't want anything to do with the DNA. So it becomes very hard to know whose kid this is. But in Africa, we have this thing of someone looking like someone and looking like someone. We've always used that one to trace it. You remember the twins issue, the Kakamega twins issue? Yes, so it might be hard to trace the parent, but if you start tracing the parent, then you might get your parent. But it's usually important to note that this kid is not mine, and maybe you start the adoption process so that you protect the interest of the kid.
Yes. Now, for this instance whereby you, the Kakamega one, the one you brought up, how do you now bring these parents, the other one who adopted, the other who thought that girl was theirs? How now do you make sure that you get the kid from them and take the kid to the rightful parents, or rather biological parent? Because I understand it is difficult for someone just to give away a child that they have known as theirs. Yes.
Legally, you are supposed to notify the Children's Service Department. There's a commissioner of Children's Service Department, and he is supposed to take you through the process. Anything involving a child, Children's Service Department, they're the ones who are specialized in dealing with it. Because maybe someone might have made a report, my kid was lost this year, what. So I might trace and say, yes, Adika is maybe 30 years. 30 years ago, there was someone who reported that this. So we start tracing based on those. We can even notify those ones who made those kind of complaints to come and check. Maybe or to supply us with their DNA so that we can confirm for them. But now, socially, you have connected with this kid for 18 years, for 17 years. It will be very, very hard for you to release them. And in that instance, then you have to involve professionals. Because you can't. Remember, we had also the same issue with the later Minister George Saitoti. So it's important to tread carefully when it comes to these issues. Because now, if I've known this kid for 18 years, the kid has also known me as a parent for 18 years. It will not be important to destroy that fabric when the kid is still young.
Definitely.
It will be important to let the kid mature, maybe up to 25, 26, when the kid now does not need the parents, but the kid now can independently make decisions. So that's usually at around maybe 26 years, after the kid has gone through the university and maybe is working somewhere, is when now you can start introducing this pole, maybe through someone, making him start thinking that what if, creating the what ifs, so that you build it, but you don't just come and say, you know what, I just realized I'm not your parent, and based on that fact, I think you will have to go. But it happens. I've seen also the same thing happening where someone did DNA, found that the two kids of the four, two kids were not his, and it went down badly. And the person just went to one of the insurance firms and decided to cancel the cover that he was, because cancelled them and replaced them, and decided due to frustration. I think he acted so fast, and now the kid's interests were neglected, and the statement was, look for their father. I'm not their father, and I'm not going to take care of them. So sometimes it ends badly, but if you approach it very well, then it might end up good. Though legally, you must also realize that a child has got rights which are constitutional, Article 53, that paramount interest of this child ranks as number one. Because we are the adults here, the child is the one who is desperate. So paramount interest of the child ranks as number one. But now when you go to Children's Act, you get some of the rights that a child has is you need to know your parents. You need to have a name. You see? And besides knowing your parent and having a name, you need also, as a child, to be given right to education, right to health care, all those. Now, it comes to be a problem when you are the one who was taking care of this child and now you want to stop. So you don't just stop like switching off the light on this child. You need to take the child to a responsible body. Contact the Children Service Office. After the commissioner will direct as to how do we take care of this child. We might take the child, maybe if maybe the parents are no longer willing to take the child, we can take the child to a place where the child can a home somewhere. And we've also seen some cases where a child is partially orphaned, is only remaining maybe with the father, and then maybe you perform a DNA on these children for one reason or the other. You just perform a DNA and you realize that the child is not yours. You see, now if you neglect this child at that juncture, you destroy the child's life. So it's really important that maybe you can take the child to a home, somewhere that this child can get help that you are giving, which you are no longer willing to give, as we scout for the parent. Because maybe the parent can be able and willing to continue assisting the child. So anytime someone makes decisions as to have found that this child is not mine and I need to make a decision which might go contrary to the child, then they have to consider also the interest of that child. That this child, I was thinking it was my child. I've found out that it's no longer my child. Then that is a problem between you and the mother, two adults problem. You don't punish a young child or a young kid because of decisions which are made without his or her knowledge. So you shall encourage people to stop being emotional about it. Take the child to the responsible body that will give the child the rights the child is provided for.
Yes. Now bring me to matters investment. I want to invest for my children, and I'm prompted, or rather I'm not sure if they are mine, and it is a sound decision that I have to make in terms of investing, because I'm pumping, let's say, millions into this kind of investment, and I want these kids to take it up. Now, as a professional, you've advised me to take the DNA, the Y still. Then what next?
After you've taken the DNA and you find that the children are yours, then it's important to now look at, when you're investing, one of the things I like telling people is, don't look at what you have today. Look at what you want after the end of this project, so that you can know how well to put your money before we come to how much you have. Because the moment the money you want to invest reaches your pockets, before you've made a decision as to what you want to invest and what you want, then you make a poor investment decision. So the first thing you have to check is, number one, this is a child. I've given birth to a child. I don't know what might be in future, but today I'm earning well. The first thing is education of this child, followed by health of this child, followed by provision of food. So education of the child, I can buy a cover which for the first 18 years, I'm the one who is taking care of the child. But from 19th year, they're the ones who are taking care of the education, because at that point is where education is a bit expensive. So it might be the university. So where do I want to train my kid at? I want to train my kid in one of the Ivy League universities in the UK, which maybe one semester goes for 1 million. So if one semester will go for 1 million, then I'm able to see that I need how many semesters? 2 per year for 4 years. Those are 8 semesters. I need 8 million at the end as education. So I want to put an investment today through any of the insurance companies. I want to buy a cover, education cover, that allows me allows my child to be paid for 1 million every semester for 8 semesters. That's one. Number two, I want to look for medical cover. So one of the medical covers I want to check is, start by checking what is the health status of my child. So that I want to take a health cover which ensures that, number one, normally I can access the medical facilities. But should a chronic disease happen, then I have a rider there that they will take care of that. And then, besides that, then I want to do an investment which will give me money personally now to provide them with their normal requirements, food, clothing, and what. After you have dealt with those ones, is when now you can move to investing. Because before you've invested in the three, that education, that health, that food, then these three will eat into anything you're investing. And you'll see most people running towards investment before making decision as to how will I eat, how will I clothe, and how will my health be taken care of. After you've done business for maybe 10 years, a chronic disease comes in through your child or through you, and the business goes down because you need the money. Now, after this is when now we can move to other factors. One of the easiest way to invest if you're working is usually MMF. Money market funds. Money market funds, you just put your money, maybe you put there, they usually give around 10 to 11% per year. But you're doing nothing, you just put your money and you earn. So I usually tell people that to your normal requirements, your normal requirements, that is food, that is how much is shopping per month, that is what. Put them together and say that I need to invest 50,000 every month as food. Look for how to invest in an MMF, because these people pay you monthly. Investment which will guarantee me maybe 40 or 50,000 monthly. So that once you reach the level of, even not even 50, you can even start with 20. If you want 20,000 monthly, maybe that's an investment, 20,000, that's 240 per year. If you divide, that's around 2.4 million or 3 million. If you have 3 million, then every month, because per year you're supposed to get 10%, which is 300,000, divided should give you around 25,000. You see? So if you can get 25,000, not your money, but money which you're getting from your investor, your money is just secured there, then this money starts taking care of your normal bills. So the moment you've taken care of your normal bills through money, through what your money is earning elsewhere, then you move to the next one, which is now bonds. Bonds, these are things, these are investments which go for a while. 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. But you see, you cannot invest for an investment which gives you return after 10 years.
Definitely.
If you don't want to have one which gives you return monthly, so that you can take care of your subsidiaries. And then now is when these are passive investments. There are people also who want to go to active investments, where I want to open a shop somewhere, I want to do farming, I want to do all those. When you're going to active investment, then you must know that whenever we're starting to invest, an investment is like a small child. You don't give it time, it derails. You can't blink when you're starting to invest. So if you're investing today, and most of the time we are working 8 to 5, then it means from 8 to 5, you're not watching your business. When the business is actively engaging people who are consuming its services. So if, let's say, I'm at Luthuli and I'm selling maybe power banks and maybe electricals, if I'm not there for 11 hours, and that's the time that people are buying, then the business does not know me. You see? So the business is being run by people who are not me. It means my decisions cannot carry any water in that business. And that is where you see either business derails, or you find that someone's investment, what Kenyans like say, it drank water. Because these people who are investing for you are the people who are engaging your customers and are the people who are making decisions. So should they decide to run away, they run away with the whole business. They leave you with the structure. So it's usually important to check that, number one, before I invest, do I have sources which take care of my clothing, my food, and my health? Because without those three, then there's nowhere your investment is going. After you've done that, then you move upwards and say, now I've dealt with these ones. Now I want to go beyond. How much do I have? I have 2 million. 2 million, if I put in active business, it might not peak so well. So why not give myself 2 years, take the 2 million, put in an investment like MMF, let it earn for 2 years, or go even to SACCO. Some people, even SACCOs are paying good, because SACCO, I've seen, if you buy shares, they pay, there's 11%, and then there's 11%, I think around 12% on deposits. Also those ones pay well. Now, if you buy this one, then look at how much is it looking to grow. I usually tell people the best way to invest, first of all, is to have your money divided into 2 or 3. If you divide your money into 2 or 3, the first tranche, take it and put it somewhere that passively it's earning you. So if I want to invest, maybe, let's say I want to invest I have 5 million now. I can take the 5 million and put in MMF. It earns me at the end of the year 500,000. Now when it earns me 500,000, I can look for a business of 500,000. Because I know this business, I can pump it yearly. So if this year I earn 500, I remove that 500, I invest in this active business, maybe a small hotel. Next year when the 500 comes, I take the 500, I boost this business. So it grows. The other year when 500 comes, I take the 500, I expand this business. So that this business, if it falls, I have a fallback plan, which is the money which is in the MMF. You get? That's usually one way of investing. But now, I've seen people who start investing while they're retiring. I've gotten my retirement funds, maybe 2 million, 3 million. In my lifetime, I've never maybe handled 2, 3, 4, 5 million. And you find that I've taken the 5 million and then I want to invest. And I'm used to office 8 to 5. So you see, this is person who is lacking on something called capacity to handle this kind of business. You'll open them. Opening the business has never been a problem.
Very easy.
Never. It's like we usually say, getting a child has never been a problem. Taking care of is where the problem starts.
Yes.
So the business and a child relates the same. You start the business, well and good. When you start it, everybody starts promising you, we will come, we will buy, we will do what. But after you started business and then you realize that you should not start business targeting on your friends. Because business targeted on friends usually doesn't go far. Business should be targeted on network that you have and the product and service as to how is it solving people's problems. Anytime I start solving a problem, if today I come up with a problem solving that makes sure that you have a certain problem, I make sure that that problem is sorted. You see, a good example, I make sure that, let's say Kenyans are using matatu during this time of this time of rain, this rainy season, I come up with a solution that the matatu person, instead of going to the state and hitting the cars, it knows where those Kenyans are. It can see them. The Kenyans are not here. I don't need to go through this route because it's my route. The Kenyans currently are standing at this stage, and some of them, because of rain, are also here and here. So that if Kenyans click, we know where they are. Matatu doesn't have to follow the route. So it will just go, pick its people, and proceed. So that is, you are solving people's problem. So the moment you're solving people's problem with your product, then it can go away. And that's why we usually now encourage people, if you have money, don't let money be the reason you invest.
Yes.
Let the product you want to bring out be the reason you're investing. Yes.
Interesting. Now, you've done the DNA. You found out that these two are my kids. These two are not. But you've decided, I will invest for both of them. Now, how do you bring up this conversation later on if it happens that the two biological children get to know that these two, our father has invested for these two, but they're not biologically ours? How do you make these others accept and move on without bringing any conflict?
The first thing usually is, first give them time, let them mature into it, because either way they will always try to fight about it. And literally I usually tell people, you don't need to bring it up. Why are you bringing it up? Let another person from outside bring it up. When it's brought from outside, you can fight it easily. But when you're the one who's introducing it, it might bring a lot of... make sure that these people, first of all, are living as a family.
Yes.
So that they don't even know who is who. That's number one. And then number two, should any issue arise, then talk them to it. Tell them, I am the father here. I know about whatever you're speaking about, but whatever you're hearing about outside there is not what happened. You, as a father, maybe can even tell them, I am the one who chose to adopt these ones.
So it is a good
when maybe we had an issue which we don't need to explain. So bring them together, mediate the issue and bring them together, because either way they will fight.
Yes.
But fight only ensues when there is this issue of someone dies without a will or things like those ones. Because you can't come and tell me that you are my father and you invested to help Adika and Adika was not your kid. No, you can't say that, because the money was mine. I'm the one who invested, chose to distribute it the way I wanted.
Yes.
And if you make these people live together as brothers, they might even don't care about it.
Yes.
You see, they might even, it depends on how you handle it. And have you been bringing some commotions between them? So, if I were the parent, then I will tell them that it's something that I didn't tell you, it's something that I know. So whatever I've been told from outside there, it's okay, you can listen to it, but I'm the one who chose to adopt these kids as mine. So they are mine as you people are mine, and we have lived as a family, and let no one from outside come in and affect our family. Because first of all, the two parents don't have an issue. But an issue comes when maybe there is a commotion and maybe the parent died. And they didn't know, and then they realize the people who are being favored were not the family. Then that will bring an issue. Yes.
Okay, now you're bringing me back to the issue that we've had just a couple of weeks or days ago to do with the issue that is now, or rather was requested to be solved out of court of former head of state, that you've noticed after years you have resemblance to a certain person, be it prominent or not prominent, but you want acknowledgement from that specific family. Acknowledge me as either a son or daughter to this specific guy. And you need Can the court help you get that acknowledgement?
Yes. In fact, something I didn't say. When it comes to DNA, it infringes the privacy of a person. So if the DNA is to be done on me because of a certain child, it infringes on my right to privacy. Now, to be treated with dignity, and also it enters into my personal space. Now, if this right is to be infringed, then you have to do it legally. The court will come and check. These two rights are competing. The first right is right of a child. Okay? The second right is right of the parent. So in various court cases that we've had, the court comes out and says, do we have a better way of doing this? So that if, let's say, I refuse, then it can be done through my other child or through my brothers or my siblings, so that they can trace that root of DNA. If I'm dead, then the court also will say that let the siblings come. These siblings, let them be tested for DNA, and then let's compare it. If the siblings refuse, is when we can maybe go to the person who is dead and remove some bits. No. So that's okay. Number two, whenever you are a child of a deceased, be it prominent or not, because the DNA issues only had them with prominent people, because it's also quite pricey. Whenever you are a child of this person. Whomever is disputing that you're not a child is the one who should prove that you're not. So if they think you're not a child, then let us do the DNA to prove. Because remember, every child has equal right.
Yes.
Every. Mindless of wherever the place you're born, every child has equal right. Now, if I find out that I'm resembling a certain person who maybe is deceased or something, I might push to know. I have a right to know.
Yes.
But that's not enough to just come and say that, oh, I think I'm resembling this person. No. You have to come with reasons as to why you think, besides resembling, you are this person's child. And besides you being this person's child, what right will be affected were we not to test the DNA? Because you see, the case we've had, I like calling the person Kibaki's child because the way they're resembling, for lack of a better word, this man comes and says, this deceased former president, with all due respect, is my father. The other kids are saying, he's not. Then it is to whom that says it is not that proof needs to come from. Because I've already told you this is my child, and I'm older than all of you. Meaning I'm the one even who came before all of you. My mom should rank as the first wife. You see? So, if these guys come and say that you're not the child, then they have to prove. However, some of these matters, you see, the court usually want dispute to be resolved, not the fight. So the court will always encourage you guys to go and do these things out of court, for the sake also of respect of our former president, whom we love very much. But now, if this is not possible, then the court will now start ordering, and they'll issue something called in law order of commission. And order of commission, in order of commission, they will say that we want to appoint a commissioner who might be a magistrate in that locality, a commissioner who might be the registrar of the court, or a commissioner of oath, or anyone the court might appoint to extract samples of DNA from the former president, or to extract samples of DNA from any of the relatives of the former president, so that they might test against this person. Should they refuse, then it means they know something that we don't know, and the court will interpret that in their disadvantage, so that the court will say that, okay, based on your behaviors, then we think and we feel this is a child of the deceased. And you see, the moment a child, you are proved to be a child, then a problem starts. Number two, we will also trace it back to the mother. Might be the wife. If we trace it back to the mother, we have to look at how are they relating to the former president. If we find that they were relating as husband and wife, then we also bring about the issue I told you earlier of wife for the sake of inheritance. So that Section 3.5 of Law of Succession says that notwithstanding any other law, this wife will be taken as wife only for the sake of inheritance. After inheritance, she goes away. So that's why you see the court has asked these people to go and sort these matters out of court, and the court will only come in should one of the child's right be trampled upon by other children of the deceased, who is now our former president.
Interesting. Now, in such a case, I understand time is not on our side, but in such a case whereby now, let's say the kid is proved to be the former head. Now, does it mean that he is entitled to inheritance?
Yes.
And he was not acknowledged?
You see, when you're a child, you don't even need acknowledgement. Why are you acknowledging? Who are you? Why are you acknowledging me? You're also a child. You see, to the right, any right towards the deceased is tied towards the blood. You get? And otherwise, if he leaves the will, towards the blood, and otherwise how he wanted things to be.
So if the will is there already and he was not included in the will, so is he entitled to get anything from the deceased, or should he also move to court again to access?
A lot of it, not even anything. A lot of it. You are a child. How many children do we have? We take all the children. Now, what you have to do is, the court usually sits down and says, the maker of the will had the right to make the will. It's okay. The will is valid. It's okay. We issue you with a grant. You have to look for letters of grant for you to start utilizing the deceased's property, which maybe he might have protested to, or he might have made an application to revoke. Now, after we have that, then now we move towards something called reasonable allocation, so that they will look at reasonably how much can we give Adika so that he is not protesting.
Yes.
So he will be given a chunk of it, but most of the time the court will tell you, with the moment the grant is issued, you guys go talk about it and then come and tell us how you have decided that the property will be distributed.
Yes.
Otherwise, I will step in and make sure that the reasonable allocation is given to this child.
Yes.
So most of the time, yes, as a child, you have a right, and that's what they're fighting with. This person is not fighting for acknowledgement. The person is fighting for the property, inheritance as a right of a child to inherit.
Which is okay.
Which is legal, not even okay.
Yes.
It's legal.
Yeah, and it is interesting that the family requested, let's handle this thing out of court. And in many cases, you might not find, or rather you will find out that it is not one kid or two, might be many, but then there's also the other issue of you agree before with maybe the mother. This happened, but I accept, we'll take care of the kid this way, I will secure his future this way, and life moves on.
We call them alternative dispute resolution, the best mechanism ever.
Yes. Now, many thanks, Lawyer Oruko Were, for joining us this morning. Now, you know why it's important to do DNA, and basically it's to avoid cases that might arise later on, problems that even those you leave behind might not be able to solve. Rather, they will just suffer through it. Now, it's also good to do these things as early as possible, discuss them amicably to make sure that you secure the interests of these children. Once again, my name is Sami Adika. Do have a wonderful day ahead. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you.